Hey, I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of Polk Place, and going to be talking about the Polk History Center. And if we're talking Polk History Center, that means Jamie Jameson's in with us, completely refreshed.
Yes.
In my calendar, it said Jamie was gone from the 12th to the 18th. Is that
Something like that. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on vacation, every day is Tuesday.
Have you noticed when you're on vacation how fast the week goes?
Yes.
But when you're at your desk, it's just dragging.
Except for that first day back from vacation, when everything's coming at you, that day goes by really fast. I felt like I had not enough time to get all my work done yesterday.
I don't know about that.
Well, thank you so much for altering your schedule to accommodate my vacation plans.
In all honesty, we had a couple cancellations. We were going to tape last week, had a couple cancellations, and they're like, hey, can we come in next week? And I'm like, yeah. So we just moved a little bit forward.
Just
I got
rolled everything. Yeah.
rapid fire a bunch of stuff. But I understand that you might have seen a tire in the water while you were on.
Nope. Not while I was on vacation, but yeah, it's one of those. I think everybody has one of those when I first came to Polk County
Yeah.
stories, and it's usually attached to, I saw an alligator for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was out on Lake Pierce, all the way over north of Haines City, north of Lake
I know where it is.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the lake going, oh, you know, very rarely do you see the alligators. And someone in the group goes, well, what's that over there? And the person I was with goes, it's just a tire, don't worry about it. And in my head, I'm going, I know that's not a tire. I've lived in Orlando, so I've not seen a gator up close, but I know what they look like. That is definitely a gator.
Not too many tires in Italy or Germany, are there?
No, not too many. Not at all. I didn't even know what there was to be afraid of in Italy. I think Italy was like just perfect. Running out of pizza.
Yeah, oh,
Is the
yeah,
thing to be
man.
afraid of.
I miss some wood fire.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. So, our girl Shannon came over and talked to us, and I learned a bunch of new stuff.
Isn't she just a fountain of knowledge?
She is, man.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is cool. And it led into the next, into the next, into the next.
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
Lots of layers
Yeah,
to
yeah,
historic
that's-
preservation and what we do with the state and the federal government.
And I understand if we should perhaps visit the museum, we have a new employee.
We do. So we are fully staffed, and we have a new registrar. Do you know what the registrar does?
Yo no sé.
No sé. So the registrar is, I always explain it to the people as, this is the person responsible for the things. So when you come to the History Center and you see the things, this is the person who knows where the things are, when the things got here, who brought the things, what the things need to stay preserved. And she is coming to us very experienced from Roswell.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably have been to Roswell.
Yeah, I may have been past there once.
An area or two. Maybe you came from there.
From 1 to 49.
You know, you might have come from there. That would explain a lot. But she's fantastic. She's just joined us this month. And so, you know, if you've been calling in and telling us you have things that you want to donate, and we've been saying, you know, just be patient with us while we wait for this position to get filled, it is filled. So we are anxiously awaiting any type of requests for donations.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, the registrar is like from Ghostbusters, Gozer the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she's as bubble. Like I don't remember which,
but you
which
know what I
was
mean,
the
the
key master,
gatekeeper.
the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
I saw the other day it was like National Puppy Day, and
Yeah.
someone posted one of those dogs
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Ghostbusters, and I was
Yeah.
like, that is not a puppy. That is a demon of some sort.
So what kind of cool stuff we got going on in April?
Yeah. So in April, actually. How nice has the weather been?
Yeah,
It's been pretty
it's
nice.
been-
Feels like spring.
Yeah.
And springtime is a fantastic time to come down and wrap up our outside tour program with us, which is, of course, the cemetery tour. So Saturday, April the 4th at 9 a.m. is our last cemetery tour until we roll back into the fall season in October. And this one's going to be at Evergreen Cemetery here in Bartow. It is the oldest continually maintained Black pioneer and historic cemetery in Polk County. And we walk through and we look at some of those individuals that have served in the military, that maybe were formerly enslaved and made a life in Polk County, and just really start to understand the significance of context when we talk about these historical figures and why it matters in the grand scheme of our community.
My ears perked up when you said continuously maintain, because when they're on county property, government property, you know who's maintaining it. But when they're like part of history like that, who maintains that?
Yeah, so cemeteries across the county, some are maintained by the county. Many are now maintained municipal. They're city owned and managed. There are some owned by churches and other groups. And then there are privately owned ones that are maintained by families. The privately owned ones are usually the smallest ones. They're probably maybe 10, 20 plots in it. And they are not accessible to the public. But of course, the county and the city ones are maintained by the city, and so tax dollars, they are accessible to the public. So my little soapbox is, if you've never walked around a cemetery, it's just absolutely fascinating to kind of be connected to a whole nother world through the people, through the art. I think sometimes people don't realize that these headstones, these gravestones, are works of art at the end of the day. And you take away some information that hopefully the next time you're in a cemetery, let's say in Atlanta, where there's beautiful historic cemeteries, you can walk around and you can start identifying things, and that context carries through no matter what type of cemetery you're in.
You're a military child. Have you been to Bushnell or Arlington or even down to Sarasota?
So I had the fantastic opportunity last year to go to Arlington for the first time. It was with a group, and I'll let you guess, they lost me within like 1 minute because I was beelining and moving my little feet as fast as I can because I wanted to see as many headstones as possible, and caught the changing of the guard as well while I was there, and visited all sorts of the different properties and monuments that are at Arlington. It's a fantastic, and they also have a museum at Arlington. It's the Military Women's Veterans Memorial. And so as you're walking out of Arlington, there's a little gateway to the left, and it's all about women's history in the military.
That is very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Of course, I stumbled upon it because I was doing my beeline. I said, "What's that over there?" Museum. It's like a honing beacon.
Do you have to have one of those red flags on you? See, normally the tour guide has that, but if you're in a group, we have to find Jamie.
My mother-in-law may or may not have requested once for me to turn the finding thing on my phone so that she could find me when I wandered off. But
just put a balloon on you.
That's right. It would be pretty too, a little pretty balloon.
So what other cool stuff we got going on in April?
So on April the 18th, we have the architectural tour, so you can come in and learn a little bit more about the architectural features of our largest artifact, the old historic Polk County Courthouse. And then following that, on the 25th, we have Shannon's Genealogy Speaker Series, which is on city directories. And there's only like a small percent of the population that actually remembers having to use the, like, I remember using the yellow pages a little bit when I was younger, but you know, they don't publish anything like that now.
You know the closest thing that you get to that?
What's that?
And that comes from county government.
I do know what it is.
What is it?
It's the county directory.
Directory of Services.
That's right. And it is, may I say, beautiful. It's produced by Communications.
Our Communications division does an incredible job on that.
Yes, and you can look up, you know, whether you're trying to find the Historical and Genealogical Library's phone number or Juvenile Services phone number, you can look both of those up in the directory.
And I think there's 100 pages, if not more, and it is somebody's job to go through and make sure that every single phone number, every address, every hour, everything, you know what I mean?
Lines up.
Yeah, everything lines up. Because,
that's a big spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But you know, those things become historical resources 25, 30, 50 years from now, because we can look back on them and we can say, okay, definitively there was a code enforcement office in Polk County at this time. And we know it was there because it appears in the directory in 2025, 2024, 2023. We use that similarly. So I had a question come in recently from the city of Auburndale. Their historic city hall, which is absolutely gorgeous if you've never seen it, is going to be turning 100 years old in 2027. So it was built in 1927. And so they're asking some questions. And that was one of the first things I did, is let me go to the city directory in 1926, see if it's there, 27 and 28, so I can start to establish a timeline of when it was actually in place and in operation. So they're a really cool genealogical tool, because of course you'll also see family members and ancestors listed in the directory too.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so
it's a wealth of resources.
We left off on the speaker series.
Yes.
What's after that? Because that's late in the month.
Yeah, that's late in the month. So outside of those regularly scheduled programs, we have some really exciting things coming up. The one that I am most excited about is Fort Fraser Trail. Have you ever been out on Fort Fraser Trail?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And we just opened the new extension not too long ago up by the hospital.
We did, the Holloway Family Extension, yes. So Fort Fraser Trail is part of a national program called Rail to Trails. And what they did is they take abandoned railroad beds and turned them into multi-use trails. Some of them are more urban, like Fort Fraser is. It's paved, it has asphalt, it's nice all the way through. Some might be more natural. So you've got hiking and all that sort of thing through it. Like Sumica, if you go out to Sumica, that's more of a natural one. And that was dedicated, are you ready for this? In 2006. So it is 20 years old. And Miss Shannon and I, along with Murtis, took a look at it and said there's some really great historical signage on this trail, but it's 20 years old. And let me tell you, it looked great for being 20 years old, but some of them had become illegible. The sun had damaged them.
Yep.
So we just finished replacing all the historical signage along that trail. In addition to that, at Boy Scout Road and 540A is where the historic fort was actually located that the trail is named for, Fort Fraser Trail. So we have created what we've called a lookout out there. There's some benches where you can, if you're riding your bike, you can take a break, sit in the shade, and then there's some additional historical signage that talks about the continuous use of that land, from the Fort Fraser Trail to the development of the roads, to the development of the community right there at the edge of Highland City. And this month they'll be installing, I call it our peekaboo because there's no official name for it, but it is a metal structure that replicates what the silhouette of the fort would have looked like. And you can look out through it and just imagine if there were no homes and no roads there, what it would have been like in the 1830s as a soldier walking into that fort.
As you mentioned, Sumica
Yes.
and the rest of our properties out along 60, and we have a couple down historical 17. Do you know what the significance of those properties are also?
I do, but do you?
I know one of them.
What is it?
It's the darkest place in Polk County.
What's
There
that?
is no light out there. So if you are out there at night, other than cars passing by, we shot some video, did some really cool stuff
really cool.
camera-wise.
For the dark sky, yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool, and the quiet, how quiet it is, and then you hear the planes on to the bomber range.
Yep, Avon Park. Yeah. You know who does a really great event with that too is one of our partners, our heritage partners, is Bach Tower. Does a really great dark sky. I think they bring out the Imperial Polk County Astronomical Society and do a whole bunch of telescope viewing of different stars and planets. We're very fortunate to have that dark sky. I lived in Orlando for several years, and I don't remember being able to see the stars as well as I do in Polk County. Yeah, it's a
very
fantastic
cool to
resource.
see.
Did you guys do any time lapse, like sundown to sunrise?
No, nothing like that, but there was some incredible, and I think we still have them, of the Milky Way.
Oh.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Nice.
And there might have been an institute or an incident or two with some feral hogs.
Okay, yeah.
that might have scared me.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I look at
my exact words. Do these things bother us? Nah, man, they're not gonna bother you. Boom! Into the side of the
big.
truck. What?
They're big. They're big. We have lots of photos in the collection of just feral hogs running around in old historic downtowns, and you just see this blur across the bottom, and you're like, oh, there's a wild hog. But yeah, so in addition to that, one of the things that's getting ready to be celebrated this July 4th is America's 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And when I sat down with the historic preservation manager, with Murtis, and we talked about what is the most poignant story from Polk County that has lasted over the 250 years of our nation's history, we decided it was cattle. So we are going to be looking at creating a new exhibit celebrating the history of cattle in the state of Florida, tying back all the way to the Andalusian cattle that came from Spain with the early Spanish explorers, and up to present day with things like the Great Florida Cattle Drive and the continuation of the cattle industry here across Central and South Florida. And we're going to create a companion piece to that too that gets people out into the communities looking at different ways that the cattle have influenced development, like in Fort Meade, in North Lakeland, and throughout the History Center, some of the different points in which cattle has influenced or changed Polk County's history.
And do you want to know a fun fact?
I always am looking for a fun, is it a bovine fact? Is it cattle?
Yes.
Oh, what's my fun bovine fact?
When we opened up Circle B Bar Reserve, there was a ceremonial cattle drive.
There may or may not be talks of something similar happening again. So if you've never had a chance to see cattle up close in person, you know, we're really fortunate we get to work in the Parks and Natural Resources Division, and there are some cool people in that division that get to work with animals, wildlife, and land, and so we're partnering with them to create some opportunities similar to that off-site. I don't think I could bring the cows into the History Center. That might get me fired, but if I could, I would. I'll grab a little baby calf and bring it in the History Center.
bring me in for a PGTV taping.
That's right. We should have one right here. I don't think it would cooperate, but maybe it would just be tired of us and lay down right here.
Yeah, just
That'd be really nice. But yeah, so we're going to be kind of elevating that, and that'll be opening hopefully at the end of May, early June, just in time to really ramp up with all the 4th of July celebrations. And continue the push through the whole year, all the way up until the following 4th of July.
All right, so kind of promoted 4th of July things coming up. Anything else that folks should be on the lookout, May, June timeframe?
Ooh, May, June timeframe. Have I mentioned we have air conditioning in the History Center?
Yeah, why?
I don't know. It just came to mind. You know, other than that, it's May, June. You know, we get busy with field trips. End of the school year. Teachers have a little more flexibility to leave the classroom and spend some funds on school buses. So my advice would be, if you're planning to visit the History Center and maybe with a group, that you call us ahead of time. Just because it gets a little loud when there's 50 fourth graders in the building. And then, yeah, we're just going to be focusing on rolling into that America 250 celebration.
Yeah, they don't know exactly that indoor voice yet, do they?
They're working on it. But you know what I always say? If they're loud, they're having fun.
And if they're having fun, they're learning.
They're learning, and they're going to remember it.
I remember you saying that once.
And they're going to remember it, and my ultimate goal is that they bring their children to the History Center one day.
Well, it's always a pleasure seeing you.
I love being here.
And we'll see you again next month.
I promise not to go on vacation.
Okay.
Our usual bat time and bat place.
I'll see you there.
Thank you.
Polk County has a rich history and heritage, and the Polk County History Center is continuously thinking of new ways to help Polk County residents experience that history. Located at 100 East Main Street in Bartow, History Center is open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. If you need more information about exhibits, events, anything like that, check them out on the web at polkhistorycenter.org or give them a call, 863-534-4386. If you enjoyed that episode of Polk Place, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and even check out the next one.